couple of years ago, Bill Crew sent me a text from Florida, said, I think you might be interested in this. Now, I'm always looking for a challenge and something different to do. So it was this Rothenberger wood burning, and it's electrical, so he knew I would be interested. And my background is in high voltage electrical. I'm a supervisor at Lancaster Gear, supervising their lab there.
That's right.
Anyway, I researched a number of ways to build it, and I kind of focused in on the microwave transformer. I went to Goodwill and bought an old microwave for 20 bucks and tore into it, took the transformer out of it, and built it into this neat little case here. It's basically just the transformer and some safety stuff that I've added to it. But I've done a few little things. You can see some up here that I've burnt. But I still have the technique to get completely down. It changes from wood to wood, so that's part of it. Part of it's getting the wood soaked properly, and sometimes it takes more soaking than others. But it's something you have to really be careful with because it's got about 10,000 volts and it generates low current but high voltage. So anyway, I built a couple of probes out of some number 8 copper wire. And
is that true that you spent some time in Abu Ghraib over in
No, not that. But anyway, I thought of some ways to try and make it safe. So I added a foot pedal, which controls when it's on and off, a light that tells me that it's on and off, and I fused it, so if it draws too much current, it'll shut down. So those are some of the things I added. Also, I wear rubber gloves, which adds a little insulation. Of course, at 10,000 volts, not a lot, but it does help. You mix a solution, and that varies. I've gone online, and different people have had different mixtures, but I use 2 tablespoons to a cup of water of baking soda, just normal baking soda. And I mix that up, and kind of keep mixing it because it tends to settle back down, so you got to keep mixing it. I paint it on with, I'm just using a sponge brush and just kind of lightly paint it on like this. And I find as you go through it, it tends to dry out as the heat builds up in the electric field. So I have to re-soak it. And I'm going to demonstrate here real quick. Because I soaked it a little earlier when it first came in. Okay. Usually what I do is I start from one end to the other end and just put my probes on there. And this looks like it's going to be a really good burn. This is what you want, kind of slowly migrating. As these points get closer and closer, it can burn deeper. You don't want really deep burns, although I did some. You can see though in that plate there was one place that was pretty good deep burn. And then again, whatever technique you want.
Plus got smoke detectors?
Yeah. We may, that was my concern, whether it might set that off. You don't really, I mean, when it starts flaming up like that, it's getting some pretty deep burns. And there again, it's a technique, whether you want the deeper burns or not. It doesn't like the high voltage. Puts off that ozone. Now, I'm a wood turner, so that's how I apply.
So do you apply it to the blank before you turn it or after you turn it?
After I turn. Another thing,
I didn't hear that.
after, it can start to turn the wood a little darker. So you have to be careful where you put it on your device if you don't want it darker. Although you can bleach the wood. Tends to bring the color back, but you can see that one cherry bowl over there got pretty dark after I coated it.
Is there a minimum thickness that,
I've seen some people do plywood, but no, it goes on the surface mainly. It wants to run along the surface. So you can get kind of different techniques. And so you have some control here just by moving your probes around.
Is there a minimum distance for your probes that you...
Well, if you get them too close, you know, you're going to get this kind of thing. So, what happens, it starts flaming up, and you get more burning than maybe you want. You kind of lose the spider effect.
If you run a line of liquid down and just one line of liquid rather than soak the whole top of the board, would that follow that line?
I've tried that, not necessarily goes that way. I mean, it's going to soak into the wood. I mean, it's going to go on the surface. High voltage tends to follow a surface pattern rather than go deep anyway, but as it starts burning, then it's going to go deeper, and then as it carbonizes, then the electricity will flow a little better because the conductivity is better.
Least resistance.
If after a long burning session, do you have to clean, or during the session, do you have to clean the electrodes?
Do you have to change your shorts?
I've not had that problem. I'm a little more comfortable with this than probably most people are because of my experience, but you don't want to get too comfortable with it. You know, it is lethal, so you really have to be careful.
Well, what about cleaning the electrodes?
I usually take a piece of sandpaper and kind of clean them, but you know, carbon is a conductor.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not a big deal. You can see right in here, the wood's starting to dry, so it's not, and what I'll do sometimes is I'll just go back and just like some of these areas that are drying out. There again, you can get your own pattern, what you want to do. If you want to do a lot or a little, you know, and I kind of like it to grow slow so they get the smaller patterns.
Is it particularly following the softer grains or the harder grains, or?
You know, the things that I've read said it tends to follow the grain of the wood, but it does cross grain. So, you know, high voltage is interesting. You know, it's, you know, when lightning strikes, wonder how to go that direction. High voltage tends to go on the surface. It also tends to ionize the air, so you don't really know what's going to go. You know, ionize the air above the wood, it may go that pattern. So,
May ionize the microphone.
what it does, I mean, it puts out a field frequency. Okay. I made some little shields. Okay.
Now, how hot do those electrodes
Those
get?
don't get real hot.
They don't get real hot. I mean, the heat's going to be because of what it generates on the wood.
Any heat would be right there at the tip.
Yeah. And, you know, and again, the point, making a point on it, the electricity, the high voltage tends to focus right to the tip. That's just the nature of high voltage.
Are they sharp tips or are they blunt?
I don't want to make them real sharp because if you get too deep, then it tends to try and get the deeper wood, and you want to kind of keep it toward the surface. You want the surface to kind of patternize that. Now what I usually do is then I put in and just kind of wash this, clean out this.
I assume the sodium bicarb makes the surface conductive. Are there other liquids that...
I've tried others. This seems to work the best.
Are you just cleaning it with water?
Yes, just water.
Have you ever tried a solution of copper sulfate to see if it add any color to the...
I haven't tried that, no. I've tried other salt solutions and didn't seem to make any better. So there you kind of get an idea of what you can do.
It's got rotated. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of do that after you get done. You go, let's look good. Like I said, I think I built up for about $100 by the time I got done with the box and other hardware I bought. A high voltage wire, it's kind of expensive, but you like it to be real flexible. I had to buy that online. You can't just use any kind of wire because you don't want the high voltage piercing the insulation. So you want something that's got, 10,000 volts or better insulation quality. So.
Did you have plans for that, or you just made it up yourself?
I went online and saw what some of the other people were doing, and then made my own plan.
FBI didn't come after you?
No.
If there were metal filings like steel wool or something on the wood, what kind of problem would that cause?
Well, it's conductive, so.
You said it can be lethal. Other than touching yourself, what do you try to avoid?
Touching yourself. I mean, like I said, high voltage tends to go to the surface, tends to go to a point, and just the knowledge of electricity and how it works.
Do you have a pacemaker?
No. But, it probably would work.
not anymore.
Like I said, I'm still experimenting with it. I've not been doing it that long, but it's kind of fun. It adds a different technique to your project. Controlling it is something you have to kind of get a feel for. And like I said, each wood is different. This poplar tends to be better controlled. It seems to work better. That's one reason I picked it. But some of the harder woods are a little harder to control. But when it starts to flame up, then it burns deeper, and so you get a different pattern. I kind of like the little, webby look better than the deep
into the surface is that, or, I mean, what happens when you sand it, or?
I've done some sanding, you know, that, when you start sanding, it takes some of the finer stuff away, because that's closer to the surface. So you can get, you know, a look that you like, you know, it's just working with it. You can use some steel wool and light sandpaper and kind of sand it. I have done that on some of my bowls that kind of get the look I want.
On that plate, where would the probes have been placed?
I'm sorry?
On that plate that you have there on display, where would the probe, no,
No,
plate.
like around.
Oh, this?
Where would the probes have been placed to make that pattern?
Well, I always start clear out as far as I can to see how it's going to start running. You know, I like to run slow, then I can see how the pattern's going to run. And I move my probes around. Like I said, you know, tends to vary with different kinds of wood, which way the grain's going. There again, it becomes an experimental type thing. But I like it when it starts slow and just starts that web burning. I feel like I got more control. And when that kind of stops, then I usually move my probes. Or if it starts flaming up, I'll move my probes to a different location.
Is there some way to control the electricity by using maybe a rheostat or something that would allow it to move slower?
Yeah, online I've seen where some people have done that and tried to raise that. I have not tried that. That's something I'll probably
But you
try.
will.
Yeah, probably will try it. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Okay, here's a question. Now, not all of us are electrical engineers. When we turn up a piece and contact you and have you do some burning, or you knew that was coming?
Could, you know, the thing is, I don't want to ruin a piece, and I'm still pretty new about it. So, you know, it could ruin a piece. I would be happy to bring it over and we can work on it together if you'd like.
Yeah, that's what, you know, when you turn up a piece, you say, I want to try to do this. You know,
And if you want to build a unit, I can help you build one if you like, if that's what you want.
I don't know about that. I'd rather throw the wood away.
On site.
I've acquired a few old microwaves. I'll probably build a couple more, I don't know. But, any other questions?
Would putting some fluid on top thicker than just water, you brushed it on with a foam brush, if you put something that had a little bit of body to it, would that still work, or change it, or mess it up?
I don't know. There again, that would be something to experiment with. I would tend to think if the glue would be more of an insulator and probably reduce it. Is that what you say, glue? For glue with?
Just something that had more
body,
to it.
more viscosity. You're talking about.
Set on top instead of soaking in.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. There again, it can be an experiment. Yeah.
There are big microwaves and there are little microwaves.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in the...
And the voltage? Probably. And it would have a bigger transformer, probably have a little more output. I'm comfortable with this, but I would be also comfortable with a bigger one, so it probably depends.
Is that what, from a little one? I mean, I have a little microwave I'm not using.
Yeah, this came out a little one. I mean, it's just a small one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I noticed you don't have a fire extinguisher handy.
Yeah, I got water.
There's one in the hallway.
It's well run.
Yeah.
Baking soda.
Yeah,
Like I've seen online, people using like welders or batteries or things like that. Is that, when your research, did you see any other equipment that people use?
Oh, welder's DC, and DC would work well for that kind of thing.
Well, there are AC welders too.
I'm sorry?
Would an AC welder?
Yeah. You're probably right. I'm not a welder, so.
The
but
weld voltage is very low though.
What's that?
The voltage at the weld is very low.
Yeah.
High amps.
Yeah, you're talking about high current, and that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at high voltage, the characteristics of high voltage, how it operates. I think. Yes, Dave?
You know, I was talking to you earlier about a guy that's trying to steal live wires off Titmoth line with a set of tree loppers.
Not a good choice.
Not a good choice. The insulation you have there on your probes, what do you got there?
It's rated 10,000 volts or better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it looks really small. You know, it's very flexible.
I mean on the handle,
Oh, on here?
yeah,
Okay. Well, I've got, the wire goes all the way down here and connects down here.
okay.
This is a wood handle that I just taped
Oh,
up.
okay, okay.
I made this wood handle and just stuck the rod in there. Like I said, I used I think a number 8 gauge copper wire. And I just put it in the vise and spun it with a drill, which hardens it and makes it straight. Put a point on it.
Can you drag your probe around as it's arcing and make design?
No, that really doesn't work. I've tried that. That really doesn't work. It kind of likes to be stuck on the surface. Like I said, not too deep into the surface, just kind of on the top of the surface. Also, I'm finding that soak time is good. Give it time to soak into the, but you don't want it wet. I mean, water staining on it, you don't want that. So I take a rag or something and kind of pat it on the top, just so it's wet on top, but not puddled, I think.
Has anyone tried with a flatter probe rather than a point?
No, but like I said, high voltage tends to go to the point, so that's where you want to focus it. That's just a characteristic of high voltage.